What's up, folks? Spiderfly back again on the World Wide Web. I'm maximizing unemployment. I don't know if anyone's ever been this unemployed. I woke up, got up, got ready, just to go take a nap right after. I had absolutely nothing to do. So we're making another video, and this one, exciting enough, is looking to be the last one we do with the big book of rules. There still are more chapters in there. There's a whole section on like lore and like world building and stuff. And there's another chapter, the last chapter, which is just like the campaign setting for that comes with the base game. So like a neighborhood, all the factions, random encounters, and things of that nature. But I'm probably not going to do videos on those things. I'm going to be doing the lore videos like separate from what's in the book. Which there should be one coming soon because, well, spoiler, we're getting an official canon map right away, which I'm very much excited about. So I'll be doing a video of all that kind of stuff when that comes out. And yeah, I don't really feel a need to make a video on the campaign setting. I mean, if people want me to, I will. If all 11 of you come together and tell me to, I'll do it. But the next series is probably going to be how to make your own campaign setting when you're running this game. So this is going to be the last one, I think, for this, not the last video. And I kind of was thinking, you know, it's spooky season. You know, it's spooky season now, in like early August, because Weapons is coming out. Weapons came out this weekend as of me recording it, and I'm gonna go see it tonight. I'm ready to get scared. I was gonna ask someone out on a date to go with me, but that didn't end up working out. So instead, it's gonna be me and my childhood best friend. We're gonna get on the nice, comfy, reclining sofa seats. We're gonna share that bag of popcorn between us, and he's gonna hug me and hold me as I get scared on this big scary movie. Do you guys have that? I don't know if anyone watching these videos isn't from where I'm from as of now, but comment below if you guys also in your city have those theaters where it's like a couch. They have like couches and like lazy boys and stuff in the theater. Let me know. So anyway, to celebrate that, we're in the spooky mood. We're wearing the spooky shirt. I wanted to do something a little different with the monster video. I could go through this and you know, talk about like the technical side of it, my systems for making stat blocks. I could explain how beast stats work. You take all 10 of the stats, you combine them into 5 stats, and they do all the same things. Oh wow, that was really helpful. Thank you for covering that when I didn't want to. Yeah, I mean, I could do a bit on all that, but I mean, you could also just read it. And I mean, there isn't really a hard and fast rule for making stat blocks. I certainly don't follow any. So instead, what we're going to do is we're going to make some new monster stats. I'm going to go through every category of the different types of enemies listed in this book, and we're just going to make, you know, a new one for each category. I'm going to break down why I wanted to make them, how I'm going to use them in my game. Maybe if we're feeling spicy, we'll even include a boss fight, an honorable mention of some kind. But yeah, this is just going to be a little fun cap off to the end of this particular series. I'm looking on to moving on to different things. And hey, if I can get a job, maybe I can increase the production on these things a little bit. But for now, yeah, let's get right into it. I'm not going to do the scream thing again. It's overdone. Not sponsored. Okay, so one thing worth pointing out is with my current campaign, I am running in New Mecca. You'll know all about that when the map video comes out, but it's also, the city where this pre-built campaign setting is, only I'm in a different area of the city. But that being said, I want to design some NPCs that are going to fit within the games that I'm running, that are going to fit into my games, and make it easier for me to run them. So the first one we've got here in our list of enemy types are low lives. Low lives are the kinds of common crooks and everyday people you're going to be running into on the streets of the zone, and things of that nature. These are, going to be like hooligangers. I have a whole category in my own bestiary, which if you guys want me to release all the stat blocks I use in my games that aren't in the book, let me know. I can do that. But yeah, I have a whole category just for zoners, just for people that live in the zone. So these are more like civilian NPC types. So what's a wheelman, like a cab driver's stat blocks, or what is a stat block for a bartender or something like that. And you can kind of just use them as a baseline and build off of them, which you'll see that when we get into how we make these. But I realized that in my game, I already have stats for all the major gangs. I have tons of stats for different NPC occupations and stuff like that. But I have very few stat blocks for cultists. So the first one we're going to do is, ta-da, right there, the cultist stat block. I don't have any spells on it yet because it's already long enough. You get the point. You could apply basically any spell to it. And I'll do that in my own time, but I want to get through this. But this would be an example of just a generic cultist. What's fun about them is obviously, they're good at magic. They got plenty of modifications that make them kind of challenging and help them hyper-specialize into what they want to do. They've got all the relevant, kind of flavored weapons that also scale well with them. Fun fact, I realized that they're pretty good with brass knuckles, and the idea of a street cultist with brass knuckles trying to beat you up is kind of scary, so I like that. As for the flavor of what they're doing, in my campaign, I've got the rat cultists that live in the sewers and the underground beneath New York City, and they summon hordes of undead rats. I'm probably gonna add pigeon cultists who hang up in old abandoned skyscrapers and have giant swarms of pigeons that they attack with on the city below. And maybe the pigeon cults and the rat cults are at war with each other. But this is just kind of a generic stat block. One thing worth pointing out is in a good stat block like this, not only is it modular where I can just copy paste, I have a random encounter with 5 cultists, cool, I'm going to copy paste this 5 times, paste it into my encounter section, delete all the weapons I don't want. Oh, look at that, I have 5 finished enemies, all with different weapons, all with different specialties that fill different roles in the combat. But also their stats themselves, this one is unique. You can see they have very, very little health. This is an enemy that's going to die in 1, maybe 2 hits, tops, 3 if they're lucky. But they have a ridiculous amount of drive. They're kind of hard to hit. And then they also explode because of a bomb built into their body, which you don't have the description of because it's not out yet, but just a little homebrew I was cooking up. I thought it'd be cool to be able to put a bomb in your character, because why not? And so fighting an enemy like this, they're rushing you with a ton of drive. You can kill them really easily, but when you kill them, they're going to explode and do a bunch of damage to you. So this is a scary enemy to fight, and it's going to change how you approach a combat, which is where it's good to mix and match. The great thing about these generic stat blocks is they're good as a baseline. So if I needed a boss cultist NPC that needed his own stat block, I could take this, say I'm going to add 4 levels to it, and he's a big guy, so instead of reflexes, I'm going to change that to muscle, and wouldn't make sense for him to have these biomechs, so I'm going to take them off, and then I'm going to give him this unique weapon. But you have that framework already there. It's really easy to modify. But the other thing is you can just reflavor them and throw them into other combats. So instead of just having 5 of the same cult stat block, I could take my water ganger, like my pirate stat block, and throw that in there. And maybe there's a sword swinging, pistol shooting cultist. He looks like a cultist in flavor, but I'm using the pirate stat block. And then maybe I take my brute stat block, which is just a huge modified Hulk with a big sledgehammer, and I throw him in there. And then I have 2 of these little minion cultists running around exploding and high on stimulants, and suddenly you have a very dynamic fight. One game that I think of a lot when I look at kind of how to design combats well. Funny enough, because I love this video game, but it also is not a very good game at all. A lot of lessons to learn from it, good and bad. Was the original Division game. There's a lot of bad things to say about the Division. The story was not very good. The way they handled the open world was pretty terrible. The combat was very hit or miss. The Dark Zone gameplay, I'm ranting now about the Division. That survival mode where you have like tetanus and whatever, and you're running around in New York trying to survive the snowstorm. That was my favorite part of the game, and I still reinstall it just to play that. And there's no one in the lobbies, so I'm just playing by myself. Ridiculous wait times because it's trying to find players that aren't there. But the game was fantastic in that regard. But one thing that the game did really, really well in the campaign missions was enemy types. Every faction had the same classes of enemy. You had like the ones that would rush you with melee weapons and shields to force you out of your position. You had the grenadiers who would throw grenades at you to force you out of your cover. It was a cover shooter, but it was very, very good at forcing you to move constantly. You couldn't maybe leave cover because you had the heavy machine gun enemy that was pinning you down, but then you also had the charger enemy coming at you. And then if you tried to move, you had the sniper enemy pinning you down, but then you had all these grunts swarming in. And it made the fights feel really dynamic where you had to be moving, but you also were getting pinned down a lot and cornered by all these groups, and you had to do this on-the-fly threat assessment of like, okay, who's the priority? Who's the most dangerous enemy? And it was constantly changing as they were bringing in, more reinforcements were coming and stuff. And enemy types like this are really good for that kind of thing. This is an NPC type that is going to force your players to change how they approach this combat. Because they can absolutely kill this cultist. It is not going to be hard for them to do that at all. Even like early game equipment would be able to take this guy down, but he's going to blow up. So do you try and kill him right away when he's close to the others and just kill all of them at once? Because if you let him get too close, suddenly maybe now you're avoiding fighting him, or maybe you're deciding it's better just to stun this guy than to try and fight him, or maybe, you're trying to like shove him back several meters and then have your friend shoot him and blow him up, and maybe you're waiting for them to be out of drive so you can run and whatever, right? It's gonna force you to rethink. So maybe you reskin him to be a hooliganger, and there's just a weird, crazy guy in the gang safe house. Maybe he was just some drug addict who just bought stimulants, but he turns out to be a crazy sword-wielding cultist. Who knows? You can throw guys like this at your party, reskin them, but the building blocks of this, it's going to be interesting when you play with it, if nothing else. So let's get to the next stat block. Okay, so for the next type of enemy found in the game, we have what is called the powers that be. These are going to be the capital or authoritarian forces that are enforcing the status quo. So this is going to be MetSec, the police, right? It's going to be corporate security teams. It's going to be any kind of like political agents or spies or anything like that. Those all fall into the powers that be category. One thing, someone's talking about this, I forget who, I wish I could give credit, but the idea in encounters, right, of there being different kinds of fights, and what is your intention with a combat encounter. There's the idea kind of like of the power fight where you are overwhelming a horde or, weak enemies, and it's meant to empower and make your players feel powerful. You've got the idea of the challenging fight, like a boss fight or something like that, where it is meant to be taxing and draining, but ultimately you are supposed to win. And the idea of the impossible fight, the fight that you are not supposed to take on, where you're never going to win, and you're not really meant to fight it in the first place. It's meant to kind of force you to approach the problem in a different way. The powers that be are that last category. These are the enemies where you're never going to beat them in a full-on fight. You might be able to take on a small contingent of them, but there's always going to be more to take their place. So you have to be fast and decisive and be able to disengage as soon as possible and assess those risks and threats, right? In the case of MetSec, you don't want to get in a shootout with the police because they're just going to send more and more. And if you're like me, you've got multiple more advanced units you can call in. In New Mecca, there's 2 police departments, and they all have their own special, like, Fed investigative units and SWAT teams and beat cops. And with them, you just want to get away. You want to disappear back into the shadows. With the corporate hit squads, right, or the security forces, you don't want to be in a position where you have to fight them, and if you do, you want to be able to take them out as fast as possible because they are scary, they are capable. But this could even be like executives. I have stat blocks for like just corporate employees and things of that nature. They don't always have to be, for combat. They can be for social encounters too, right? In this case, I realized that after all this time, I didn't have a good, consistent stat block for a razor being a corporate blade or hacker. And this one right here might not include all the quick hacks and things of that nature. I might not have put weapons on it yet. I'll do all of that in my own time, probably. But here we have the bare bones idea of a corporate hacker. This is someone who has been extensively modified to be very efficient and effective at their job, to the great detriment to their physical health. I mean, you can see that their organs are nearly failing, their metabolism is super overworked, they don't have a lot of blood, like this is a pretty weak enemy, but with the way that their points are allocated, they are very, very good at dodging attacks. It's going to be almost impossible to hit them while they have drive. And with hackers, they don't need a line of sight to be, hacking into you, right? So this is a very, very scary back rank, back row enemy if they have, corporate security forces at the front or police, and then there's this guy hiding in the back with a data knife. That could be very, very dangerous. If you can hit him, you can probably take him down. He's a nerd, ultimately. But a very, very scary and powerful nerd. So he's going to be a great support character. And you could even work him into like a boss fight of some kind. But this guy would be scary to go up against, much like our cultist friend. A bit of a glass cannon. This one more of a support, the cultist more of kind of like an attacker, right? Yeah, what else do I have to say about this stat block? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it fulfills its role. It's fun. You can add vehicles and stuff too, like for police units and stuff like that. I have the different vehicles they drive and their stats applied to them. They really have to be as detailed or as simple as you want them to be. I like to have all the information on it so that I can just copy paste it, delete all the stuff, and then I know there's a razor with this data knife, these quick hacks, or this malware or whatever, this gun, and this vehicle, and all the stats are totaled, and it's easy for me, but also my zone master notes for this campaign, I think, are 286 pages on Word, and all of my campaigns start at around 100 pages of prep, and that's mostly stat blocks, because a stat block like this is a short one for me, right? There's no weapons or hacks or vehicles included in it, but you get the idea. That's the razor. Let's move on to the next category. So for the next category of enemies, we've got what is called, in the book, they're under the wild blood category. A wild blood Is a bit of a tricky word. Within the world of the game, I think technically it kind of constitutes a slur. It's what's used kind of by a lot of the propaganda to paint a really bad picture of people that live in the feedlands that but that's basically what it boils down to, is a wildblood is someone who voluntarily chooses to live in the feedlands and outside of the last cities. They would rather live amongst the radiation and the mutant plants and animals and the twisters and the ghosts, right, than live in kind of the rotten societies and cities of their world. There's all types that would choose this kind of lifestyle, from fugitives and outcasts to fanatics and zealots, and then you've also got the kin, just the nomadic or semi-nomadic clans of people that just kind of have familial units, and they would rather kind of maintain their own independence, right, for whatever reason. But a wild blood is kind of the catch-all term for, like, you choose to live permanently in the wasteland. Like, you don't just go out there like a salvager where you go, you find junk and you bring it back and sell it and you live in the city. It's like, no, you live out there. And these are not stat blocks that are really that relevant to my campaign because it's set in New Mecca. It's an urban area. It's pretty far from the wasteland. But I still wanted a stat block that I could use in a pinch in my setting that still fits in that category. So I decided to make this one here. This one here is called the Rot Hunter. He is effectively a professional twister killer. This guy kills twisters for fun and sport and glory, or possibly for money. He's not quite the same as Lazarman, I don't know. The people that clean up like kind of infestations and stuff like that, or clean up after them. He's not quite the same as like a rat hunter, which hunts, kind of mutant animals and maybe takes on the occasional twister bounty. This is a zealous, almost religious pursuit of twister extermination. Now, this guy could cast spells if I wanted. I could give him, like some Baruch spells, because, Baruch's Rot Hunters are kind of a big religious group, and these are just some random weapons I threw in. But his whole thing is that he's good at killing twisters, so he wants to be able to penetrate through soft armor or possibly even hard armor for some of them. So he wants a lot of weapons with good penetration. He wants to be accurate. He wants to do as much damage as possible, which is why he has the eyes, which give him bonus damage from weird. He wants the weird so that he can navigate the feedlands well. But he also wants weapons that do high trauma, because twisters typically do not have a high trauma threshold. So sniper rifles like the Feral Axis, or weapons like the Glenfield Commando. These are guns that are going to be twister exterminating machines. And then he also has a bunch of weapons with high attack speeds and things like that. So this is going to be like a balanced kind of warrior fighter. He doesn't have really low health, but he doesn't have high health either. He's got armor. He's got some specialized like biomechs that are going to make him better at fighting, but generally this is like a fighter first, fighter forward kind of character. This is a character that'll be really scary to go up against and will be really good to have on your side. This is also a great stat block to throw in the middle of a combat like this. You take a couple of those exploding cultists, you take that razor and put the hacker hiding in the back, and then you put this guy on the front lines and he's going to be shooting guns and swinging blades. This guy with the katana is pretty scary. So yeah, this is just kind of a fun one. Killer. He kills twisters. Maybe he'll kill you. Who knows, right? Could kind of align with the cult. Could be just a guy you meet at a campfire out in the wastelands. It's hard to say. So that takes us through all of our human enemy categories and into our next ones, which are going to be the beasts. All right, so for this next part or category, we have what are called meta beasts. These are sort of like mutants. That's literally what they are. They're mutant wildlife, right? So the ghosts and the radiation, it didn't just change us, it didn't just change our world, it changed the whole planet. And a lot of species went extinct. Most plants as we know them today no longer exist. Most animals as we know them today no longer exist. But new breeds, more adapted to this world, have taken their place, and at a rapid pace. I could have done a wild animal stat block, but I don't really use them that often. I find they're kind of unsatisfying encounters a lot of the time. Like, why fight rats or cockroaches when you could fight, like, twisters or, you know, like more interesting dynamic combats? But I still use them every now and again. It's fun to throw an attack dog into a fight every now and again, or, you know, scary to go up against a bear or something like that. But despite already having multiple stats for this in the game, I did not feel that I had hit my giant spider quota. And so I have added this guy here, the Silk Weaver, because the best horrors are the ones that mankind invents for itself. This was inspired by have you guys seen the spider silking machine? Like the spider milking wheel? I'll put an image up of it right there. Such a horrific if you read up on the history of that is such a hilarious yet horrific concept of oh man, just read the wiki page. It's absolutely absurd. But anyway, yeah, the Silk Weaver is you know, as it says, genetically modified spider that was engineered to produce silk. Originally it was non-venomous, and then they realized that they could make way more money if they sold venom on top of silk. And so now they're poisonous. You can use their venom as a drug, which is kind of fun. Yeah, this thing is horrific. It's a gigantic spider that reproduces at an alarming rate, that is in the wild, that hunts dogs, and very easily could hunt you. They're not too fond of people. This is kind of just to give an idea of, like, some of the animals in the game are going to be like wild animals that evolved to do the things they do on their own. But bioscribes can invent pretty much anything, right? And they're going to invent their way with biology out of problems that the rotten world presents them with. That's how you get animals like Rundalo and things of that nature. But yeah, anyway, I thought that would be horrifying, and I wanted it in my game, and I can't wait to mess around with it. So without further ado, we can make our way down to the next category, the big category, the exciting category, twisters. Okay, well, I've got to go to the movies right away, so I'm just gonna blast through the rest of these. I'm gonna finish the stat blocks later, so what you're seeing on screen, I will have finished by the time the video gets up, but I haven't done right now. Okay, so for the twisters, I don't think I've explained at all what twisters are yet in this series, and part of that's because there isn't really a uniform conclusion as to what twisters are. We know that they are mutated horrors. We know that they want to kill us and feed on us, but they'll kill and feed on anything, right? One thing that you notice in twister-infested areas is a complete lack of life. No animals, no bugs, nothing. They'll eat grass. They'll eat the rubber off tires. They'll eat rotten wood if they have to. They are a ceaselessly ravenous horde. But where do they come from? It's not entirely... They have two ways of propagating. One is that if the concentration of ghosts is high enough, if there's enough radiation, they can resuscitate dead bodies and take control of them and possess them. So there's a big school of thought that the twisters are possessed. But they also evolve very rapidly, similar to the animals. And twisters also reproduce by what's called stranding, where they will take themselves out into the sun. Twisters hate sunlight. Again, for some reason, they can be in the sunlight. It doesn't like do damage to them, but they seem to prefer a lack of sun. They just don't seem to like UV rays for some reason. That's why the suicide lights keep them from just overwhelming the zone constantly. But yeah, in Stranding, twisters are going to go out into an open area in the sunlight. They are going to burst open, and new twister-like larvae are going to feed on them, pick their bones clean, and leave. And a lot of people think they do that just because twisters will also eat each other if there's a lack of food. So, young offspring would be an opportunistic meal for another twister. But they reproduce asexually. They can just do that. Some people say if they eat enough, they can grow more twisters, but they can also possess people. It's kind of hard to know where the line between like a twister and ghosts and animals, because they also take on the appearance of what they hunt most. If they hunt fish, they're going to start to look more fish-like. If they feed on animals, they start to look more animalistic. If they feed on people, they become more and more convincingly human in appearance. The other thing with twisters is that they can imitate voices of people you love. Some of them can even make you see things like memories. They can take on the appearances of someone maybe you know who has died, or speak in their voice. And originally, it's called a GTSD, Ghost Traumatic Stress Disorder. Now, originally, this was not considered to be a real phenomenon. People thought it was a myth. And so Mayflowers, when the original like twister hunting expeditions carried out by the government would happen, they would drop people in areas and places they were familiar with, because, they already knew if they grew up in this town, they're going to be familiar with the town. Well, these people would be dropped into town and then start saying, hey, wait a minute, all these twisters look like my friends and family from before the war, and they're talking to me, and I see their faces everywhere. There's definitely a regional association to it, but you can also experience these hallucinations in other places, so it's kind of hard to know for sure. There's two kind of general ideas of what a twister might be. There's lots of theories, but these are the two most commonly agreed on. Either the twister is a predator which has evolved to use ghost radiation to hunt humans more effectively or more efficiently. If that is the case, they are cruel and sadistic hunters, and going up against them is terrifying, but there's something kind of understandable about that. Ultimately you can say it's functionally an animal or some kind of evolved human predator. The other alternative is that they really are the ghosts of those people that have died. When they speak in the voice of someone it's not an act. That is their ghost, trapped in this body, maybe alongside other ghosts, but trapped in the body all the same. When they look like someone that isn't a hallucination, that is them taking that appearance for you. And if that's the case, if they really are the spirits of people we love haunting these bodies, why do they want to kill us so bad? What did they see on the other side that would make them capable of that? And specifically targeting people they care about. Probably less likely than them just being animals. But yeah, hard to say. Twisters are scary. To speak on this, one thing I would say when you're preparing early encounters for twisters, when you're first introducing people to threats, how much time do I have? I have a bit of time. So one thing worth noting about these twisters, right? When you're introducing them to your games, when your party's going up against them for the first time, the threat has to be clear. The reason I designed twisters the way I did is because my biggest pet peeve, I love zombies. I love zombies in fiction. Zombie type enemies are kind of my favorite, as you can probably tell by the game I wrote. But I hate zombie media the big trope that I can't stand is the whole, there's the zombies, but what if humans were the real monsters? What if we were the real threat? I hate that. All of humanity got wiped out by walkers? Are you kidding? That's what did it? I know, oh, everyone who dies turns into a walker. Dude, the whole military-industrial complex toppled by something that Rick Grimes kills like 700,000 of over the course of the show? Stupid. The threat has to constantly be evolving. Otherwise, we're going to outpace it. That's what we do. We're humans. That's why twisters are scary, is they can actually evolve and adapt faster than we can, and they are more suited to the rotten world than we are. We have been supplanted by a new apex predator. A new species is replacing us, and it happens to be one that looks like us and can talk like us, but hunts us. And so I would recommend having some good standardized twister stats. Like, pick a few that you want to be just like a basic twister. What does a basic twister look like? Because every twister is different on an individual level. But I find that now as I make more and more twister stat blocks, they all, like, every twister is like a special infected kind of thing. And I kind of do wish I could go back to basics a bit and have, like, these are like the 3 common twisters, and then there's a few rare subtypes based on environment, region, and stuff like that, which I already do, but like really focusing on, there's a couple just really standard ass twisters, and they're just as scary as a special one. One twister should be a threat. Multiple twisters should be super dangerous, even for a full party. So focus on that. Like, these things are evolved to hunt you, and they all do it differently, but that's what they're good at. So in honor of weapons, I don't know the plot of the movie, I just know the trailers, but I've seen the clips in the trailers of the scary stuff. I've seen the videos on creepy kids and their origins and horror, and I realized I didn't have a creepy kid twister. So we're gonna add this guy here. I'm calling him the Milk Skin, because of milk carton boxes. These are twisters that take on the appearance of lost children to lure people closer to them, and then they split open, or they go feral, and they kill the person. It preys on our base human instincts. You hear a kid crying, they're asking for help, you approach them, and they kill and eat you. Makes you think twice. This is what twisters do. They prey on our base human instincts, they manipulate us to kill us more effectively, and that's why they're scary. And that's kind of what this twister is supposed to be. I haven't seen the exact stat block, I've prepped for it yet. I have a rough idea of what it'll be like probably, but yeah, scary stuff. This is the kind of energy twisters should have. This is not just, you can have ones that are just like zombies or ghouls or goblins or what have you, but this is the kind of stuff. This is why people are not the same when they come back from the feedlands, and there has to be a convincing reason why people live in a place as corrupt in the zone, and the reality is this is what's out there waiting for you. For the last two, I've got to go right away. Spirits. I don't really play with spirit stat blocks anymore. I found they were one of the weakest, least developed things in the book that I'm not really that proud of. I still kind of like them. I think it's a cool idea. I've since done the demon system, and I am not going to be making a new stat block, but I'm going to put 1 or 2 up. Boom, boom. Those are just some examples of what you can find in the DLC. Every entity, every star gets its own physical incarnation. 13 for you to summon and come up with your own. These are good for like support, wizard support builds in combat. You can summon these monsters and wreak havoc on the battlefield. And maybe these are technically twisters too, just with some kind of alignment or something. Who knows, right? What's the difference between a spirit or a demon and a twister? Hard to say. Maybe twisters are just ghosts that have gone feral. That's kind of a creepy idea, that ghosts can go feral. But yeah, we've got those. This takes us to the fall. What are the fallen? No one seems to know. Stalking through the ruins with their drums made of, their skin drums and their rusted armor and corroded weapons clanging on the concrete and asphalt as they march in procession to the beat of the drum, torches lit, and even the twisters shy away in fear of these elite killers, these hunters of men. A lot of people consider them to be a myth made up by the kin. Some consider them to be, exiles from kin society that have formed these sick, macabre war bands. Some people think that maybe they're evolved twisters that have formed societies that use tools that are able to organize. Some think they might be something in between, maybe extraterrestrial, maybe they're just a group of people, of bandits that are really scary, or maybe there's something else entirely. We don't know what they are. We know they don't leave ghosts behind when they die. We know that their bodies turn quickly to plants and flowers when they're slain. We know that they have monstrous strength and power. But we don't know much more than that. So for this, I think I want to have a fallen stat block where they have like a cannon. I think that would be pretty scary. So we're going to put up this cannoneer fallen stat block. I haven't even made it yet, so who knows what it looks like. Hopefully it looks pretty cool. I think that would be scary if they had artillery now. And now when you have your towns, your nice little settlements getting raided by twisters, you can have, or by the fallen, sorry, you can have cannons blowing down the walls and lighting the town on fire and such. Yeah, I could probably do a whole video just on twisters or on the fallen, and I probably will in the future. But I think for now, that's gonna have to do it. It's been such a pleasure to make these videos. I've had such a fun time. This is something I never would have done. Like, the idea of doing YouTube videos and making stuff like this, I was always like, oh, I don't want to do that. That's super lame. Like, everyone does that. I never would have done it except to try and shamelessly promote this book. But I'm really glad I'm doing it. I can't wait to make more videos. Map video coming soon. Really excited to make that one. Making your own zone video coming soon. Really excited to do that. Probably some more videos like this, maybe. Making monsters if people are into it. But yeah, just something short, something light, something fun. These stat blocks are made to be modular. A lot of people are probably going to look at like all the equipment, all the weapons, all the stuff added to these stat blocks, think it's tedious or boring to total them up and whatever. And I think for a lot of people it probably would be. You can make up weapons for NPCs, you can make up abilities, you don't have to manually add all these things. These can just be things for the players if you want. You can just keep them really, really basic. I just personally, I find it really fun and really kind of like calming and almost like meditative. Like if I'm anxious before I have a shift at work and I just have a bit of time to kill, like not quite enough to like get into a video game or a movie or a TV show, but still like I have to kill some time, I'll throw some music on or some YouTube video on the background and I'll just make stat blocks for hours. And for me personally, it's really fun. I like looking for the optimal equipment and seeing like flavor-wise versus mechanically, how do these meet in the middle, populating the world with these NPCs, filling up hundreds of pages on my bestiary, and then being able to just throw them out to make these awesome combats on the fly. I have a really good time with it, and I hope you do as well. Only take it as seriously as you want to. You want to go strictly by the book mechanically, like I usually do, go ahead. If not, hey, go crazy, right? I'll make a whole new bestiary for every setting I run pretty much from scratch, with a few exceptions that I reuse. And I'd be happy to share it if people are interested in it. I might turn it into a whole project that I actually release with like some artwork and stuff like that. I might not. We'll kind of see how it goes. But yeah, anyway, I'm gonna go watch this movie and get scared. I've been this nervous to watch a movie in a while. The last movie I went to in the theaters that genuinely I was like really scared of. I really want to say it was Hereditary. I think technically it was Overlord. I don't know if anyone watched that movie, like the D-Day horror movie. Those were both movies that actually, I don't know why Overlord scared me as much as it did. Maybe it's something I ate that day, but I was just like really like almost like queasy. I was like, oh my God, like I'm so horrified right now. Funny enough, the monsters from Overlord would actually, those are very good stand-ins for twisters. If you need some inspiration, like the one where he's running down the hallway and stuff, or when his neck snaps. Those are great. They can be very John Carpenter's The Thing twisters, you know, very body horror focused. But yeah, Hereditary is the one that stands out as like the last really, really good horror movie I saw in theaters. I've seen horror movies in theaters that are good, but I'm like, Hereditary is always one of my favorites just because that was like, I was younger, but it was still like a my generation movie. It wasn't just a movie that like other people were like, oh, this was so great back in my day. I was like, no, I saw that in theaters with my girlfriend at the time, and I think I hid behind her watching it. I was young, but still, I was definitely, that movie scared me a lot. Way more, like watching it now at home, I'm like, oh yeah, this is just a good movie, but something about in theaters, it was like really freaky. And Overlord scared me a good amount for some reason, at least the first part of it. No, the whole movie, yeah, I was like really tense for some reason. But then, yeah, now I'm gonna go watch Weapons. I'm actually nervous. My friend might have to hold me the whole way through. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So I'll let you guys know, I guess, in the next video how it was, what I thought about it. We'll do, this is a movie review channel now. I just keep reviewing other media. But yeah, thanks for watching. Hope you guys have a good one. Check out the book. Check out the book, dang it. Oh yeah, I'm gonna have all these stat blocks when the video comes out. I'm gonna put them up on the website where you can download them for free. So check out the website in the description. Guys, submit your own stat blocks or something. Email me some if you want. That would make my day. But yeah, anyway, hope you had a good one. Take it easy. See you in the next video. Say goodbye to the book, guys. Buy yourself a copy now, and you don't ever have to say bye to it again. Later.